A federal court, ruling from December, just rewrote the rules for gun ownership across America, and most gun owners have no idea it happened. 10 massive legal changes went into effect that protect your rights in ways we haven't seen before. Law number 10 will shock you, because people were facing prison time for this exact same thing just weeks ago. Subscribe now, because missing this information could land you in serious legal trouble when you think you're following the rules. Law 1. Supreme Court Protection Standard. This is the biggest shift in gun rights protection that America has seen in over 50 years, and everything else I'm going to tell you builds on this foundation. The highest court in our country just decided that your right to own guns gets the same maximum protection as your right to free speech, or your right to practice your religion. What this really means is simple. Before December, politicians could pass gun control laws, and judges would usually say, okay, as long as it seemed reasonable, but now that's finished. Every time any government official wants to create a new rule that limits your gun ownership or carrying rights, they must meet the hardest legal standard our justice system has. Picture it this way. In the past, you had to explain and justify why you needed a gun. But starting now, the government must explain and justify why they should stop you from having one. The test they must pass requires two major things. They need an extremely important reason that goes beyond just saying it might reduce crime or make people feel better. And even when they have that reason, they must choose the option that restricts your freedom the least. Right now, legal experts estimate that over 500 current federal regulations about firearms are facing serious challenges because they can't meet this tough new standard. Law 2. Police Accountability Requirements. Any police officer who breaks your Second Amendment rights now faces real punishment that hits them personally. The old system had a legal shield called qualified immunity that basically let officers do whatever they wanted without worrying about getting sued, even when they clearly violated someone's constitutional rights. When cops arrested people for legally carrying firearms, took guns without proper justification, or trampled on gun rights in other ways, citizens would try to take them to court, but the officers would use this immunity shield and escape all responsibility. Everything changed with the December court decision, and police who violate your gun rights today will pay consequences from their own lives and bank accounts. Officers now risk getting sued personally, where they have to pay damages with their own money, getting charged with federal crimes that could send them to prison, and losing their badge forever, with no possibility of working in law enforcement again anywhere in the country. Out in Arizona, 2 officers had to personally pay $1.9 million after they detained and arrested a woman who had a valid carry permit and was breaking no laws. Down in Georgia, one officer not only lost his retirement pension, but also got hit with federal criminal charges after he seized firearms from a car during a routine speeding stop when he had zero legal reason to search the vehicle. Police chiefs and sheriffs across America are now warning every officer in their departments that messing with someone's gun rights means the end of your career and financial ruin for you and your family. Law 3. Firearm Confiscation Ban. Starting right now, government officials cannot walk up and take your guns unless they follow all the normal criminal justice steps. Those red flag laws that let police grab your firearms just because somebody made a complaint about you have been struck down as unconstitutional. Let me explain how this used to destroy people's lives. Imagine your neighbor gets mad at you over a property dispute, or maybe an ex-partner wants revenge. So they call the cops and claim they're concerned about your mental state or safety. Police would arrive at your house that same day, confiscate every firearm you legally own, and then you'd spend 6 months to a year fighting expensive court battles just to get your own property returned to you. The December ruling put a stop to this practice with clear rules. Police cannot take your guns unless they arrest you first. They cannot take your guns unless prosecutors file actual criminal charges against you in court. And they cannot take your guns unless you receive full legal due process with a fair trial. Law enforcement agencies had a practice of seizing firearms and saying the guns might have some connection to criminal activity, even though the owner was never charged with any crime and had a completely clean record. Official records show that police departments took away more than 15,000 firearms using these questionable methods over the past 4 years. And a huge percentage of owners gave up trying to get their property back because the legal fight cost too much money and time. Anyone who had their guns taken through a red flag order or civil asset forfeiture during the last 5 years can now file paperwork to get them back immediately, and the government must return them. Law 4. Gun Owner Database Elimination. The federal government has exactly 90 days to delete every single digital record they've been keeping about gun owners. And this represents one of the most important privacy wins we've seen in decades. Even though American law clearly says the government cannot create a national list of gun owners, the ATF spent years secretly building a massive searchable computer database anyway. They gathered up more than 1 billion records of firearm purchases and put them all into digital systems where they could type in your name, type in your home address, or type in the model of gun you bought and get results in under 10 seconds. Multiple states, including Washington, Michigan, Delaware, and Rhode Island, were quietly sending their gun owner information to federal databases through special agreements that the public never heard about. The judge ordered the ATF to hand over certified documents, proving that every digital record has been completely and permanently destroyed from all their computer systems within exactly 90 days. When the ATF misses this deadline or refuses to follow the order, they'll be held in contempt of court, and the specific government employees who are responsible could end up facing criminal charges and possible jail time. The FBI system that does background checks also received orders to immediately erase all records right after they approve someone, instead of saving those records forever like they were doing. Law 5. Online Surveillance Prohibition. Any government agency that wants to spy on legal gun owners must now get a warrant from a judge first. Federal agencies spent years tracking gun owners through everything they did on their phones and computers, without ever asking for court permission or showing evidence of crimes. They monitored which gun stores people visited by pulling location tracking data from their cell phones. They recorded what gun-related items people purchased on the internet by watching credit card company transactions. And they built detailed files on gun owners all across America. The court made a clear statement that owning firearms is a right protected by the Constitution, and simply exercising that right does not give the government permission to watch you. Everything from your phone's location history to your credit card statements for gun purchases to your internet search activity is now legally protected from government eyes. Intelligence agencies were actually operating a classified surveillance program that automatically put people on watch lists when they searched the internet for things like large quantities of ammunition, firearm modification parts, or state concealed carry regulations. That entire program got shut down completely because of this ruling. When any government agency wants to look at your digital information that relates to guns or gun ownership, they must now present a judge with a warrant application that shows probable cause that you committed an actual specific crime, not just that you happen to own firearms. More than 60,000 American gun owners were being actively tracked and monitored through these surveillance systems without having any idea it was happening. And many of them are now taking legal action, with initial settlement offers averaging around $50,000 per person. Law 6. Concealed Carry Permit Reform. The process to get a concealed carry permit became much simpler and much faster, no matter which state you call home. The court created 3 rules that are now mandatory for all 50 states starting immediately. Rule number 1 says permits must be fully processed within a maximum of 30 days, with absolutely no exceptions and no deadline extensions. Rule number 2 says states are forbidden from making you prove you have good cause, or provide special reasons for wanting to carry a gun to protect yourself. Rule number 3 says the total application fee cannot exceed $50 with no extra charges or hidden fees added on top. Back before this court decision, places like Massachusetts were taking anywhere from 10 to 18 months just to process one permit application. States like Illinois were charging combined fees of $400, or higher just to submit your application. Right now in Massachusetts, there are over 55,000 permit applications sitting in government offices that have been waiting longer than 30 days for approval. Based on this new ruling, the law says every single one of those waiting applications is automatically approved effective immediately. Before this court decision came down, the entire state of Rhode Island had only approved around 300 concealed carry permits total. Since the ruling, they've been forced to approve more than 4,000 applications in just the last 5 weeks. When you submitted a permit application that's been sitting there, waiting for more than 30 days. The law now says your permit is automatically approved right this minute. But there's no point in carrying if you can't buy ammunition. Law 7. Ammunition Restriction Removal. Purchasing ammunition now works exactly the same as buying any other normal legal product. States have lost their power to create special rules for ammunition that they don't apply to regular items sold in stores. Illinois was forcing people to go through a complete background check every single time they bought ammunition, even for buying just one small box, and that entire system is now eliminated. States like Massachusetts banned all online ammunition, ordering, and home delivery, which forced residents to drive 3 or 4 hours just to find ammo for sale. And those bans are completely gone. Some states limited the quantity of ammunition people could purchase in one transaction and kept government lists of anyone buying large amounts. And those restrictions are also finished. The judges recognize something that should have been totally obvious to everyone. A gun that has no ammunition is completely useless for any purpose. So treating bullets like some kind of illegal, dangerous substance makes absolutely no sense at all. Just in the past year alone, Illinois ran more than 5 million ammunition background checks that wasted gun owners' time and cost them extra money. Stores that sell ammunition can now make over-the-counter sales without filling out any special government forms or sending reports to authorities. Internet companies that sell ammunition online can ship their products across any state line without needing special permissions or extra business licenses. Nobody can tell you there's a maximum limit on how much ammunition you're allowed to buy in one purchase anymore. These changes created instant effects on how much ammunition is available and what prices people pay throughout the country. Companies selling ammunition on the internet say their sales went up by 400% in states that previously blocked them from shipping to customers. People who make a living selling guns have had even worse treatment. Law 8. Federal Firearms License Protection. Anyone with a federal license to deal in firearms now gets the same legal protections that every other legitimate business receives in America. The ATF spent years using harsh inspection tactics to force gun shops to close down over tiny paperwork mistakes that had absolutely nothing to do with any actual crimes being committed. Something like a serial number written in messy handwriting that's difficult to read, or writing down a customer's middle name incorrectly, or putting the date in the month-day-year format instead of day-month-year format, could result in losing your license and having your entire business destroyed. Starting now, the ATF has no power to take away a federal firearms license unless the dealer actually committed a real criminal violation that breaks the law. Simple paperwork mistakes, problems with how forms are formatted, and clerical errors of any kind are no longer valid reasons to shut down anybody's business. When you submit an application for an FFL today, the ATF has exactly 60 days to process it, or else your application becomes automatically approved. People who run gun-dealing businesses from their homes faced constant harassment from city and county zoning departments. But now they have federal law backing them up with protection. Local governments, including cities and counties, have lost the power to use zoning regulations to prevent federally licensed gun dealers from running their legal business operations out of their own homes. Over the last 12 months, the ATF pulled the licenses of 148 dealers based on nothing except paperwork violations, when there was zero criminal activity of any kind involved. Applications for new FFLs have jumped up by 97% in only 8 weeks because people are no longer scared of random unfair enforcement actions. Law 9. Warrantless search prevention. Government agents have lost the power to enter your home or property to inspect firearms without getting a warrant first. Those surprise inspection visits that gun collectors and people running home-based gun businesses constantly dealt with are now completely illegal. Agents from the ATF used to appear at people's homes without any warning and demand immediate access to inspect private gun collections or business paperwork right on the spot. When people refused to allow them inside, the agents would make threats about taking away licenses or starting criminal investigations. The court ruling stated clearly that the Fourth Amendment protects your home from government searches, and the fact that you own guns does not take away that protection in any way. Before government agents can search your property for anything related to firearms, they must obtain a warrant that's been signed by a judge, and that warrant must list specific criminal accusations against you. These protections apply equally to every type of gun owner. People who collect firearms as a hobby, businesses that operate shooting ranges, retail gun stores, and any other kind of business related to firearms all receive identical protection. During the last 4 years, ATF agents carried out more than 3,000 home inspections without getting any kind of court approval or warrant. Citizens who had their homes searched illegally are filing lawsuits right now, and the average amount these cases are settling for is approximately $85,000 per case. When federal agents appear at your door without warning you of anything, what you should say is very clear and very simple. You need to show me a warrant with specific criminal accusations, or I will not allow you to search my property. Law 10. Cross-state travel rights. Traveling across state borders with your firearm is now completely legal and safe from arrest in states that used to have strict gun laws. This particular change impacts more gun owners in their daily lives than any of the other 9 because tens of millions of Americans travel regularly for their jobs or to visit family. For many years, gun owners were genuinely scared and terrified of driving through states like Connecticut, Delaware, or California, even when they were only passing through those states for an hour and never intended to stop anywhere. Regular people were being arrested during normal traffic stops, getting charged with serious felony crimes, and looking at the possibility of spending multiple years locked up in state prison for guns they legally owned that were locked away in their car trunks the whole time. Under the new federal law, when your firearm is legal in the state where you're starting your trip and also legal in the state where you're ending your trip, you have complete legal protection for the entire journey between those two places. You're allowed to stop and fill up your gas tank, go inside restaurants to eat meals, or check into hotels and stay there overnight without creating any legal problems for yourself. In the state of Maryland alone, more than 1,000 people got arrested over the last 6 years just for having firearms in their possession while they were driving through Maryland on their way to somewhere else. The courts are now dismissing every single one of those cases and removing them completely from people's criminal records. Connecticut charged one man with criminal weapons possession after a state trooper found his legally owned pistol locked in a secure case in his trunk when he got pulled over for having a broken taillight. That man spent nearly 3 years fighting his case through the court system and ended up paying more than $50,000 in legal fees to lawyers before his case finally got dismissed. When police officers pull you over while you're traveling with a firearm, you need to clearly state this exact phrase: I am traveling under federal interstate protection laws. Knowledge is your strongest defense when it comes to protecting your Second Amendment rights. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you stay updated on every legal change that affects gun owners. Share this with your friends and family who own firearms because they need to know these protections exist. Your constitutional rights just got significantly stronger, but they only work when you understand and use them properly.